The text came at 3:47 p.m. on a Tuesday, right as I was elbow deep in Mrs. Henderson's transmission fluid. "We need to talk. Coming by the shop after work. Aaron." 22 words that made my wrench slip and scrape my knuckles raw against the undercarriage. I should have known something was wrong. Aaron hadn't set foot in my auto shop in 3 years, not since she decided grease stains were beneath her new professional image. "My name's Jake Morrison, and I've been fixing cars in this godforsaken town of Millfield for 15 years. It's honest work, even if my wife thinks it's embarrassing. Used to think anyway. She showed up at closing time in her silver Lexus, the one I couldn't afford but somehow ended up making payments on. Designer heels clicked against my oil-stained concrete floor like a countdown timer. Her blonde hair was pulled back in that severe bun she wore to impress clients at the real estate office. "Jake, we need to discuss our situation," she said, not even looking at me. Her manicured fingers drummed against her purse. "What situation?" I wiped my hands on a rag, already knowing I wouldn't like the answer. "I've been staying at my sister's place. I need space to figure things out. Space. The word every married man dreads. Figure what out, exactly? Whether this marriage is working?" She finally met my eyes, and I saw nothing there. No warmth, no regret, just cold calculation. "I've been talking to Kevin about it." Kevin, her brother-in-law, the pompous insurance executive who'd never liked me, who called me the grease monkey at family dinners and suggested Aaron could do better within earshot. "Since when is Kevin a marriage counselor?" I asked. "He's family, Jake. He cares about my happiness." "And I don't?" She sighed like I was being deliberately obtuse. "You work in a garage. You come home dirty. We never go anywhere nice because you're always worried about money. I'm worried about money because someone maxed out our credit cards on designer clothes and spa weekends." Her face hardened. "I have an image to maintain. My clients expect a certain level of sophistication." "Your clients. Right." I set down the rag. "How long have you been planning this?" "Kevin thinks I should file for separation. Get my own place downtown, somewhere more appropriate for entertaining." There it was. Kevin thinks. Not "I think" or "we should consider." Kevin thinks. "And what do you think, Aaron?" "I think Kevin's right. About a lot of things." She left without another word, heels clicking their way back to her perfect car and her perfect new life. I stood there in my dirty coveralls, surrounded by the smell of motor oil and the sound of the ancient fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. That night, I sat in our empty house, my empty house now, and cracked open a beer. The place felt hollow without her constant criticism echoing off the walls. No complaints about my work boots by the door or my sports highlights on TV. Maybe this was for the best. I was wrong. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, and tell me in the comments what city you're watching from. 3 weeks later, I learned the truth from Tommy Rodriguez, my buddy who bartends at O'Malley's downtown. He'd seen Aaron there twice, both times with Kevin, both times acting like more than family. "I didn't want to say anything," Tommy said, sliding another beer across the bar. "But they were pretty cozy for in-laws, you know." I knew. Deep down, I'd known for months. The late nights showing houses, the new clothes, the way she lit up when Kevin called but barely acknowledged me walking through the door. The real kick in the teeth came when I ran into our old friends Mike and Jennifer at the grocery store. We used to have them over for barbecues every month, back when Aaron pretended to enjoy normal people. "Jake?" Jennifer's smile seemed forced. "How are you holding up?" "I'm fine." "Why wouldn't I be?" Mike shifted uncomfortably. "We heard about the separation. Aaron called us." "Did she now?" "She's worried about you," Jennifer said carefully. "She mentioned some concerning behavior." My stress level spiked. What kind of concerning behavior? "Look, man," Mike said, "we're not taking sides. but maybe you should talk to someone. Professional help, you know? Professional help for what? The drinking. The anger issues. Aaron said you've been pretty volatile lately. I stared at them, my former friends, watching them choose her version of events over 15 years of friendship. Anger issues? She showed us some texts you sent, Jennifer said quietly. Pretty harsh stuff, Jake. Texts I'd never sent. I pulled out my phone, scrolled through my messages with Aaron. Nothing harsh, nothing angry, just practical questions about bills and property. What did these texts say exactly? Mike looked away. Maybe we should just drop it. No, I want to know what I supposedly wrote to my wife. Jennifer glanced around nervously. Threatening stuff, about what you'd do if she tried to leave you. My mouth went dry. I never sent anything like that. Jake. Mike's voice carried that careful tone people use with unstable relatives. Maybe you don't remember. If you've been drinking, I haven't been drinking any more than usual. And I sure as hell never threatened anybody. But they'd already made up their minds. I could see it in their faces, the way they'd stepped slightly away from me, like I might snap at any moment. That night, I called Aaron. What did you tell Mike and Jennifer about me? Jake, you're scaring me. This is exactly what I was talking about. What texts, Aaron? What threatening texts? You know what you wrote. Don't gaslight me. Show me. Forward me these texts I supposedly sent. Silence. Then, I deleted them. They were too upsetting to keep. Convenient. Kevin thinks I should get a restraining order. Of course Kevin thinks that. Kevin, who'd been whispering poison in her ear for God knows how long. Kevin, who saw an opportunity to upgrade his sister-in-law from a mechanic's wife to something more suitable for his social circle. You do what Kevin thinks is best, I said. You always do. I hung up and sat in the dark, finally understanding the game being played. This wasn't just about Aaron wanting out. This was about destroying me completely, making sure I looked like the bad guy while she and Kevin rode off into their perfect sunset. But they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd underestimated the grease monkey. I spent the next week doing what I do best, fixing things. But instead of transmissions and brake pads, I was fixing my reputation and gathering intelligence. First stop, O'Malley's security footage. Tommy owed me a favor from when I'd fixed his truck for free, and the cameras had a perfect view of Aaron and Kevin's family meetings. 3 different dates, 3 different displays of affection that had nothing to do with being in-laws. Next, phone records. Aaron had kept me on the family plan, probably forgot about it in her rush to paint me as unstable. Hundreds of calls and texts between her and Kevin dating back 8 months. Long conversations at odd hours, the kind married people have with each other, not with their spouses' siblings. But the real gold mine came from an unexpected source. Jake? It's Linda, Kevin's wife, calling my shop on a Thursday afternoon. Her voice was shaky, uncertain. Hey, Linda. Everything okay? Can we meet? I need to talk to someone, and I don't know who else to call. We met at a diner on the edge of town, far from Kevin's usual haunts. Linda looked like she'd been crying for days. Her hands trembled as she stirred sugar into coffee she wasn't drinking. I know about Kevin and Aaron, she said without preamble. Linda, I've known for months. The late nights, the secret phone calls, the way he lights up when she texts. She finally looked at me. He thinks I'm stupid. I'm sorry. Are you? Her laugh was bitter. Because I think we can help each other. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Photos. Hotel receipts, credit card statements. Kevin's been sloppy, probably because he thinks his little wife is too dumb to notice. She pushed the envelope across the table. He's been telling people you're dangerous, unstable. That Erin's afraid of you. I never touched her. Never even raised my voice. I know, but he's convinced half the town otherwise, including our friends. Our friends. Past tense. Because Mike and Jennifer weren't the only ones who'd bought Kevin's version of events. 3 more couples from our old crowd had stopped returning my calls, stopped inviting me to weekend gatherings. The mechanic with anger issues wasn't welcome anymore. "What do you want to do about it?" I asked. Linda's smile was sharp enough to cut glass. "I want to watch them burn." That weekend, Kevin threw a barbecue at his house, posted about it all over social media, made sure everyone knew Erin would be there as his supported sister-in-law going through a difficult time. Half the town showed up, including Mike and Jennifer, including every friend who'd ghosted me over the past month. I wasn't invited, of course, but Linda was the hostess, and she'd made sure I had everything I needed. At exactly 7 p.m., when the party was in full swing and Kevin was holding court by the grill, Linda's sound system came alive. Not with music, but with audio from Kevin's phone, a recording Linda had made of him bragging to a buddy about his affair. She's so much hotter than Linda ever was, and the way she looks at me, like I'm some kind of hero for rescuing her from that loser husband. The backyard went silent. 60 people stood frozen, drinks halfway to their lips, as Kevin's voice continued painting a picture of his conquest. How he'd convinced Erin she deserved better, how easy it had been to turn her against me, how they'd fabricated the threatening texts using a spoofing app. The best part is, everyone believes her. Poor little Erin, scared of her unstable husband. Meanwhile, she's been in my bed for months, and nobody suspects a thing. Kevin lunged for the sound system, but Linda had hidden the speakers throughout the yard. His voice echoed from every corner as he stumbled around like a man on fire, trying to stop the audio that was destroying his reputation in real time. Phones came out. Videos started recording. By the time Kevin managed to cut the power, it was too late. The damage was done, and it was spreading across social media faster than he could run damage control. I watched from across the street as the party dissolved into chaos. Guests streaming toward their cars, voices raised in anger and shock. Mike and Jennifer stood by their SUV, staring at the house like they couldn't believe what they'd heard. Kevin appeared in his front yard, scanning the street with wild eyes. When he spotted me leaning against my truck, his face went purple with rage. "You son of a bastard!" He charged across the street, fists raised. I didn't move, didn't have to. Mike intercepted him halfway, along with 2 other guys from the party. "Kevin, stop!" Mike shouted. "You've done enough damage!" "He ruined everything. He destroyed my marriage." "You destroyed your own marriage," Jennifer said, appearing beside Mike. Her voice was cold as winter. "And you tried to destroy Jake's reputation to cover for it." Kevin struggled against the hands holding him back, his face twisted with fury and desperation. "You don't understand. She came to me." She wanted out. "So you helped her frame her husband as abusive?" This from Tom Bradley, another old friend. Made us all think Jake was dangerous. The crowd from the party had gathered in the street now, forming a circle around the confrontation. Phones everywhere, capturing Kevin's meltdown for posterity. "Where's Erin?" someone called out. We all turned to look. Her Lexus was gone. She'd slipped away during the chaos, leaving Kevin to face the consequences alone. Smart girl. Too bad she wasn't smart enough to stay gone. Erin resurfaced 3 days later with a lawyer and a sob story about being manipulated by her predatory brother-in-law. She'd filed for divorce, claiming she was the real victim in Kevin's scheme to break up her marriage. It might have worked, except Linda had given me more than just audio recordings. "Jake Morrison's Auto Repair, this is Jake." "Mr. Morrison? This is Detective Sarah Walsh with Millfield PD. We need to discuss some allegations that have been made against you." A chill ran through me. What kind of allegations? Harassment, stalking, destruction of property. "Can you come in for questioning?" An hour later, I sat in a sterile interview room across from Detective Walsh and her partner, Detective Brown. They looked tired, like they'd rather be anywhere else. "Your wife claims you've been following her, vandalizing her car, sending threatening messages," Walsh said. "She has photos of damage to her vehicle and screenshots of text messages." I pulled out my phone and placed it on the table. "Check it." "Check my location data, my text history, everything. I haven't contacted her except about the divorce paperwork." Brown picked up my phone. "You mind if we take a look?" "Go ahead." While they scrolled through my data, I reached into my jacket and pulled out Linda's envelope. "Before you go any further, there's something you need to see." I spread the contents across the table. Photos of Kevin and Erin together, credit card receipts from hotels, phone records showing hundreds of communications between them dating back 8 months. "This is evidence of an affair between my wife and her brother-in-law," I said. "An affair they've been covering up by making me look like an abuser." Walsh studied the photos. "Where did you get these?" "Kevin's wife. She's been documenting his infidelity for months." "That doesn't prove you didn't harass your wife." "Actually, it does." I pulled out my final piece of evidence, a USB drive Linda had given me that morning. Kevin bragged about using a text spoofing app to send fake messages from my number. This drive contains the app data Linda recovered from his computer, including the threatening messages he sent to Erin pretending to be me. Brown plugged the drive into their laptop. His eyebrows climbed as he scrolled through the files. "Jesus Christ," he muttered. "Walsh, look at this." She leaned over to see the screen, then looked back at me with something approaching respect. "Mr. Morrison, it appears you've been the victim of a fairly elaborate frame job." "Yeah, I figured that out. We'll need to speak with your wife and Mr. Kevin Patterson. Good luck finding Kevin. Word is he's staying at a motel outside town since Linda kicked him out." They found Kevin 2 hours later, drunk and belligerent at the Sunset Motor Lodge. By evening, he was in jail on charges of harassment, identity theft, and filing false police reports. The local news picked up the story, and by morning, everyone in Millfield knew the truth. But Erin wasn't done fighting. She showed up at my shop the next afternoon, not in her Lexus this time, but in a rental car. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her perfect hair disheveled. She looked like a woman whose world was falling apart. "Jake, we need to talk. Talk to my lawyer. Please, just give me 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I let her in. She stood in the middle of my shop, looking lost and small among the tools and car parts. "I made a mistake," she said. "Kevin convinced me you didn't love me anymore, that you resented my success." "Your success?" I laughed. "Erin, you sold 3 houses last year. I make more money fixing cars than you do selling real estate. It's not about the money. No, it's about the image, about being embarrassed by the guy who keeps your lights on and your car running." Her face crumpled. "I was wrong. I see that now. Can't we try again?" "Try what? Living a lie? Pretending you respect me when you've spent the last year telling everyone I'm beneath you?" "I never said that." "You didn't have to. Kevin said it for you, and you let him." She stepped closer, reaching for my hands. "I'll make it right. I'll tell everyone the truth about Kevin, about what really happened. The truth's already out there, Erin. Thanks to Linda and about 60 witnesses at Kevin's barbecue." "Then what do you want? What will it take?" I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in months. The woman I'd married was still there, under the makeup and designer clothes and fake sophistication, but she was buried so deep I wasn't sure she could find her way back. "I want you to be happy," I said finally. "Just not with me." She started crying then, ugly sobs that shook her whole body. Part of me wanted to comfort her, to tell her everything would be okay. But that part was smaller now, quieter than it used to be. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry, Jake." "I know, but sorry doesn't fix this," She left without another word, and I went back to work. There's always another car to fix, another problem to solve. It's honest work, satisfying in a way that doesn't require anyone else's approval. 2 weeks later, the divorce was final. Erin moved to the next town over, started fresh at a different real estate agency. Kevin lost his job and his wife, ended up moving back in with his parents at 43 years old. Linda kept the house, the cars, and most of Kevin's retirement fund. She stops by the shop sometimes, brings me coffee and updates on her new life. She's thinking about going back to school, maybe becoming a private investigator. I'm good at uncovering secrets, she told me last week. Turns out it's a marketable skill. Mike and Jennifer apologized, along with the rest of our old crowd. They wanted to know if we could go back to the way things were, weekend barbecues and game nights, and pretending the last few months never happened. I told them I'd think about it. Some bridges once burned can't be rebuilt, but maybe that's okay. Maybe some bridges were rotten to begin with, held up by habit and convenience rather than anything solid. These days, I close the shop at 6 and go home to my quiet house. I cook dinner, watch TV, work on my own projects in the garage. It's a simple life, maybe even boring by some standards, but it's honest. And after everything that happened, honest feels pretty good.